Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello and welcome to Marketing Management, a VUCA perspective, where we cover the fundamentals and we are in the third module of the course. I'm your instructor, Siddhiprad Bhattacharya. We've been discussing VUCA and its impact on businesses in a huge way, and we're trying to probe into every possible nuance that helps shore up the necessary information that will empower managers of today and tomorrow to take the world one step at a time, however volatile, uncertain, complex, or ambiguous it might be. When we get closer and closer to the subject at hand of marketing management, we need to realize that there are catchphrases, but there are hidden meanings behind them. We've all heard of the consumer is king. We've also, some of us, heard of that the content is queen, but do always remember that the context is everything, which is why we need to marshal the people who we want to bring with us together. This is a concept called tribing. It's an age-old concept ever since society started living in civilizational constructs. We have been having tribes the world over, small, large, growing into cities and even empires. Today, these form followers of a brand, followers of an organization, followers of a kind of product, and they create a group which is self-sustaining, and this is what needs to be collected and marshaled by brands and organizations which want to see a brighter future. So tribing is the bulwark of marketing. It supports marketing in the best possible way and creates that environment of an audience behind it that allows it to flourish and foster wealth, foster growth, and foster a better future for the organization. Let's see how business can keep their viability and relevance amongst these particular members of the tribe that they have created, and they being the most coveted currency of the organization. Today's subject, therefore, is decoding viability in organizational capabilities and market environment realities. When we start inspecting viability as a subject for organizations, we need to look at the lifeblood of business, and managers must completely be attuned to these factors. They need to keep that particular hard-earned currency, the consumer, in their fold. They need to ensure that they stay loyal. Yes, people are fickle, they will shift their track, they will go elsewhere, but they also need to be herded back into the fold. So therefore, the most crucial factor which ensures that businesses thrive and with enough plausible reason to exist is customer loyalty. Customer loyalty is driven by a factor of, hey, I want to buy this or I don't want to buy this. What defines that? The price, of course. How much are you going to shell out for any product or service, whether it is worth it. So hence, price optimization is another big factor which needs to be kept into mind, and that helps create a semblance of what the product offering is and whether the money being charged or asked for it is truly of a certain relevant sum. And finally, if you are able to wade the waters of the VUCA environment, you will only be able to do so by transforming the organization you're in. Leaders must communicate to all the people in the organization so that their forces are marshaled, and therefore communicating the vision, mission, goals and objectives within the organization becomes that much more important. And therefore, you have to have fantastic internal communications. These are the three factors which keep the company viable, both for the inside crowd as well as for the outside world. Therefore, the coverage today will be these three areas: customer loyalty, price optimization, and internal communications. So let's quickly deep dive into customer loyalty and understand why the consumer will share favor with a particular organization or brand. When you're trying to make sense of the customer loyalty program, you see that given a VUCA environment, the market conditions are rapidly changing, they're unpredictable, and you're always facing competition or some other market force anomaly which is going to impede or create a new set of challenges for you. And so therefore, they'll continuously have a negative impact on the way your customer relationship is. People will try and woo them away from you, and you will not know that there are certain factors which suddenly pop up and change the way business is done, change the way people consume products, change people's habits, in fact. So those things are always lurking around the corner, trying to create a problem and a certain volatile situation for you. And these need to be approached. How do you approach this? You can approach this in three forms. First thing you do is create a value appropriation framework. So once you set things in a framework, you know exactly what parameters form that particular framework, what are the forces at play, and which are the particular trends, which are the particular matrices that you need to keep under check, always watching out for anomalies, and prepare for exigencies. Once you're done with that, you need to look at who is it that actually is giving you that kind of value. Hence, you need to not look at throwing your communication all over the place, but look at specific segments within the larger audience set, and with those segments, you want to have a valuable conversation. What you bring to the table should be in their perceived notions of certain value, which is why they will buy into you. And then the third part to this is, within the segments that you have chosen, you will prioritize some, and you will do so because they will give you the maximum value as a business. At the end of the day, if you want to run and thrive in business, so then you need to be profitable, and that should drive the purpose of the organization. It's financial profitability. Yes, done ethically, done with a good sense of purpose, and done with mindfulness towards providing great value to the customer. But at the end of the day, it is critically important that you stay profitable so that you can have the necessary cash flow to innovate, to bring out more products, to create in-depth services, to always come up with something that gives new news and solves newer problems as people's lives change, their habits reform and grow, and they stay along with you. So that every single time the customer seeks a problem to be solved, they come to you and you solve it. Hence, you increase the lifetime shelf value of that particular customer. When you're looking at a customer relationship framework, there is a three-layer model. The three-layer model is something which works in two ways. In today's day and age, you have to look at it from the technology perspective, because technology is inseparable from our lives. And on the other side, at a concept level, you're also looking at three layers going outward. When you're looking at the conceptual perspective, you see the inner layer, which is the operational marketing aspects of things. When you step out of that, you've got the customer strategy, and once you are at the interface of the customer, the business model takes over the way you're running your business. In the same vein, when you're looking at the technology side of things, you've got at the core the operative marketing information systems, outside of which, when you're dealing with the customers, you have the customer information systems, and at the broad business model level, you have the management information systems. So these go hand in glove, and they allow for the organization to have a continuous, seamless transactional interaction with the world outside. We will get into the details of all these things as we go further into the discussion, but remember that positioning plays a key role. Positioning sets you apart from whoever else is in the same fray and vying for the same customer's attention and a share of their wallet. At the same point in time, because profitability, which we spoke of earlier, is very important, you have to plan financially what kind of resources you're going to use and how you're going to bring them to bear. this has a direct impact on the kind of technology you can bring into bear. And at the same point in time, if you've got a red ocean kind of a scenario where there is intense competition, then you may have to spend more to outshout whoever else is in the fray. So therefore, that intensity is also driven by your actual reality, the situation you're playing in. At the same point in time, factors that may help you is understanding the demand potential. If demand is growing, even a lot many competitive players doesn't matter, because each one can get their share and still stay profitable. What you also need to remember is why you will be preferred is the value which you bring to the customer, which is why they'll stay with you, and their information will help you make better products, give it to them in time, exactly when they need it. Your campaigns will be aligned so that they are able to appreciate the nuances that you're trying to tell them. And at the fine end of it is the profitability angle again, and therefore the value you're going to derive from the customer. So it's cyclical, and all of these things interact and get you data at the various customer touch points. So the touch points are the interfaces from which you extract all of these pieces of information, analyze them in real time. Again, we've spoken of AI and machine learning, which help you take the heavy lifting off your shoulders, and you get inferences from which you can quickly derive to decisions. Let's look at these aspects in detail. The outer layer of business has technology, which today has become inseparable from running any form of business. Technology and advancements in it are driving cost-effective data networking and CRM systems so that you're always in tune with the customer. CRM allows you to actually pinpoint who your customer is, what their purchase history has been, what has been the reason why they bought it, what has been the reaction to the kind of purchase they've made, and whether they are likely to make secondary purchases, whether they are likely to refer you to somebody. All of these aspects are things that you need to look at. In fact, as early as 2010, the spends had gone up to 13.9 billion the world over, and which had grown to 37 billion by 2017, which was a 15% annual growth. And this is only set to grow as businesses become more and more digitized and digital transformation takes on even the most rudimentary forms of business, even when it is the SME sector in India or any other growing company for that matter. And data explosion. In 2012 itself, we had reached 2.5 exabytes a day. Think of the scenario today. It is doubling every 40 months, and now it is almost tripling. So the kind of people joining the internet bandwagon and the kind of data consumption in India, you've seen the explosion of data after certain telcos have come in like Jio, and they have actually opened up the scenarios where every person now has access to data. We have digital currency and payments today, which allow us to do most of our transactions online, and that has been an absolutely great infusion of stuff that can be done online. And as people go online, a lot of people who are tech savvy become the early online sales adopters. So these people are the people you want to tap into. They're the ones who will go and look for your products first. They will be experimenting with it. They'll be the ones who will be talking to the rest. And inevitably, these are the people who become influencers, because they are tuned in, they understand the native environment of the digital space, and they bring other people into the fold, courtesy whatever they have to say. So you need to look out for these people and keep them in good favor and good humor. Technology companies also face intense global and regional competition, so therefore technology helps you break through that shackle. And Germany, as an example, has about 1,300 medium-sized market leaders. So India can take a leaf out of that particular book. India has a humongous 6.5 lakhs plus SME sector strength, which is really the backbone of industrial India. And that, if it is grown and per capita income just goes up by $1,000 for every individual, think of the kind of addition to the GDP that we can make in India. So these things are things that we are considering worth thinking of. And while price wars intensify, because as the digital outreach program happens, you have direct sellers coming to customers, and mostly through aggregator platforms like Amazon nowadays, Zepto and Blinkit and many more. Global firms have been citing price competition, which is eroding the total gained business value year on year. So it is getting more and more intense. In fact, the Zeptos and the Blinkits of the world have literally taken the baton from the larger behemoths like Amazon and run with it, and they're doing a fantastic job when it comes to the metros. Just wait for the time that they spread into hinterland India, and then you'll really see the kind of explosive growth that they can shower on the retail industry. Now, coming to standing apart from competition, positioning is key to ensuring that you are distinctly identified by your target audience. They understand who you are, what you are about, and why they should buy into you as a particular organization, brand, or product, and why is it that they should shun competition. In today's day and age, innovation is critical, because if you do not keep innovating, if you do not change your models as per the time, if you do not bring out fresh new products, if you do not look at aspects of customer experience and see where they are actually facing problems and you start solving those problems, you will see that you are falling behind. Innovation becomes of critical help for companies. So you see 83% of companies view it as essential for survival. So that is a huge number, and I don't think there is any rocket science to it. It is something you must innovate or you will wither out. Similarly, innovative firms, which are the top 20, which say we will challenge the grain, we'll go against the way things have been done, and we'll do faster, better, cheaper, wider work, they have grown 16% faster in 3 years than less innovative ones. So there you go. India always had exhibited a particular, let's do the staid way of doing things. But now entrepreneurship is picking up. Nowadays, you see that people are trying to solve more problems. More tech products have come out. New spaces of doing business, new areas. We have been doing work in aerospace, for that matter, which was unprecedented. We've been working in defense, which is again unprecedented. These innovations will have trickle-down effects, because the technology transfer of whatever IPs are created will create more and more subsidiary industries and ancillary requirements as well. So you'll have a very robust ecosystem coming up, provided we keep on the path of innovation. Again, yes, you need to innovate, but you can't go all wild. You have to be prudent about it as well. So therefore, you have to stage your movement. So finance and resource planning comes in here. You need to plan for when you want to put in money, to what particular end will that money be used, and how transparently will you be using it, what kind of project and program planning processes will you put in place so that you don't overspend, you don't kill your budget and then end up with nothing in the end. So post financial crises that we've been facing, you have to manage the VUCA environment, which is obviously rampant, and the project and program management we spoke of, the controlling activities must be robust. There must be audits. There must be a risk management factor built into your systems, so that you are able to marshal your forces and get the right output at the right time, so that it profits your organization. And who makes all of your business viable and possible is the customer. And so therefore, knowing your customer is extremely important. Hence, information comes with its benefits. You are able to interact better with the customer exactly when they want to be spoken with, not being intrusive. So therefore, this information allows you to actually and truly create value. You are able to tap into their needs. You are able to mostly predict when they would need something, and you are able to create certain patterns through which just-in-time processes can be brought into play. You can trigger a purchase, which is something where people want to get stuff at the drop of a hat. The 10-minute delivery system is working in that direction exactly in the bigger cities. And when you provide loyalty programs, you reward your customers. What happens typically because of which is you have improved customer retention, and people are vying for attention and the wallet share. So that gives you a little more hold on the individual's attention and wallet share both. These rewards give you detailed insights into customer transactions, because the more you get them to interact with you, their spending patterns, what they have bought, why they have bought, when they have bought, all these transactional behaviors, they will help you create better analysis of the segments that you are tapping into. And so then you will know this kind of customer has this kind of profile, they work here, they typically have this schedule, they watch this kind of content, they actually end up buying your product or service at certain points in the time. You get to predict what they're going to do, when they're going to do it. That helps you reward them better for being loyal, and at the same point in time, you can also derive better business and value out of them. Companies strengthen their relationships by offering product benefits, so you can add something extra, making it a little sweeter for them, alongside all the loyalty programs and clubs that you put them in. And alongside that, the experience that the customer gets out of the entire purchase exercise gives customer satisfaction and the loyalty which is critical for success. So therefore, you are able to retain them, and the shelf life of that particular customer increases for the organization, which is important in today's VUCA world again. And that actually helps you drive a balanced, value-driven approach, because you know when they are going to react, you know what they are going to do, you know what particular products or services or scheduling or price point that they are going to ask, what particular benefits they are going to seek. You are able to derive customer value, and given that customer value, you will see that benefits yield measurable company value, because the more you keep the customers on board, the more they have faith, trust and belief in whatever you have to offer, they will repay you in kind. And whatever challenges come, you are able to accurately calculate customer value beyond your basic revenue segmentation, because at times the same customer also turns into an advocate. They have bought it, they have liked it, they go and tell 5 other people. Nothing sells better than word of mouth. So word of mouth is like the holy grail of marketing. It is what every marketer, every true blood marketer is aiming for. And that is the actual thing, the big pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. How do you increase share of wallet? You go and ensure that they are repeatedly purchasing you, and your new product categories are also getting consumed, and they are contributing indirectly, like we spoke of, the referrals, the advocacy that we spoke of, and you get the leads. And these people, since they come referred by humans, by people who they know, the chances of them actually getting converted is significantly higher. When you're combining customer benefit and the financial value perspectives, you will see that you will be able to avoid missed profit opportunities, because you will always know when it is the time to reach out to your customer, what is it that you're going to position at them, and what is the price point at which you will sell it. And at the same point in time, if you're able to notice any shifts in their customer needs, what you will be able to do is put in the right kind of pricing, product and other communications, and keep your growth going upwards. And since they are your biggest asset, your information which you spoke of, which technology gets to your desk, is your biggest competitive edge. And therefore, the quality of information is also important. How detailed is it? How correct is it? How nuanced is it? And all of these things help you enhance the value generation. And you're able to effectively supply the information across all your operational units. In the last conversation, in the previous module, we talked about leaner structures, we talked about lateral and thinner and flatter organizations where decentralized decisions can be made. So the decentralized decisions are best used when technology supports them in taking the cognitive decisions immediately. And here, technology through CIS systems includes database, which you can keep looking into and selling to people. You use technology to aided sell, and you also obviously use nowadays online marketing, performance marketing in a big way, so that you provide disposition based products and services in front of people when they're searching for things, when they're actually in the mood to buy something, when they're actually in the mood to look at a certain particular piece and invest in that. And this is decision orientation, which helps create better customer relationship and control over how much you're going to make at the end of the month. All the data that comes your way, you can coordinate and integrate it, and therefore your marketing knows what sales numbers are to be reached, where are you going to market so that sales get the necessary support, and your CRM is supporting the entire scenario by gently herding the audience towards that particular direction and giving them certain carrots which can actually affect better sales. The comprehensive customer data, that is sector, company size, socio-demographics, risk in investing in a certain space, this gives you efficient acquisition strategies also, so that in case you want to expand into a new market, you want to add a certain functionality to whatever you have on hand, this gives you a better read of what is happening in the market at large. And technology and data transparency help customers believe more in you, so that they know that my data is secure with this particular organization. They do things ethically, and so therefore you are also able to pass the information along to your organization without them fearing that it will go out of hand. And very importantly, when monies are involved, credit and loyalty card engagements, they create the dynamic data flows, so that you understand exactly what is happening, when, how much, who has paid, who is the right kind of value giving customer. And so therefore you can also look at their purchase patterns and capitalize on that. The data analysis systems that form the backbone of all of these things, yes, obviously the behemoths have a bigger stake in this. They have the money to burn behind such. They leverage complex customer data analysis for strategic advantage. Again, AI and ML doing the heavy lifting. And these successful business models rely on meaningful utilization and interpretation of vast customer information. Yes, the AI will give you certain trends, it will give you certain data points, but there is an analyst sitting behind all of those things, making sense of the scenario in real time, so that the inputs that are received from the market and any red flags or any green flags are immediately reported to teams for further action. This also gives you a strategic competitive advantage. Your CIS gives high customer satisfaction, and therefore your repute in the market also goes up. And data-driven insights support personalized marketing, so you can make it about you. It's almost like having a one-on-one conversation with the customer, and so they feel that, hey, this organization feels and cares for me very, very truly as an individual. So the more you are able to relate to that particular one unit of the entire audience, they feel truly welcomed into the tribe we have spoken of. Now, what are the challenges of the customer information, how you utilize it? The first challenge is that there is abundance of customer data, and therefore you require robust systems, because at times data will not be scrubbed, it will have bogus information, so garbage in going will give you garbage out in the outputs, and so therefore that can throw a spanner in the works. And this data quality and relevance is critical, because if there is something amiss there, your insights may go all over the place. Again, customer loyalty through data is not only to boost retention, but also provide valuable transaction data for segment analysis, because you might want to go micro within the audience segments that you've picked up. So if it is a group of MBAs, you may want to segment them by geography, you may want to segment them by alma mater, you may want to segment them by gender, you may want to segment them by years of work X, depending on what kind of alumni status they are at, and whether they are a full-timer, whether they are a part-timer, and at what particular stature in their organizations that they have reached respectively. So all of these things help you pinpoint in detail more conversations and more personalized interactions with your intended audience. And these segments help tailor marketing efforts and optimize the customer interactions like we spoke of. In the future, what will happen is the technological advancements will be at such a furious pace that it will further optimize the data networking and CRM systems, ensuring that more and more crystallized data points come out, and spot decisions at times will be automated, the AI will take over, and what you need to do is create robust algorithms that empower that decentralized decision making. Organizations need to wake up to this particular reality, and a machine does not tire like a human does. So if you are able to program it well, the kind of delivery that it can provide you with is staggering. So those things are things that you need to do, and your algorithms and the sophistication of that particular algorithm will ensure that your customer information system will be able to deliver on the task that it has been entrusted. If you see how it plays out, there are lots of pluses and minuses in the entire interaction scenario. What you can keep adding is product benefits. What you can do is give other additional services. You can give the information benefit by employees, and if you have a certain brand standing in the market because people trust you, then you get benefits out of that. It reduces your customer acquisition cost over time as trust builds in your favor. This is a very large set of benefits, whereas what you need to watch out for is monetary expense. Yes, bringing things in will cost you, and if you're not doing it right, redoing it, reiterating the process, finding out plugs and leaks in the system will cost you time, effort. Obviously, that also translates into money, and there will be energy cost as well. So you will have to spend resources and you will have to hire people unnecessarily when certain things can be probably done better by just putting the dead weight out and letting AI and ML take over. The mental effort on the manager is also going to stress them out and keep them from doing much more important tasks. And these can add to your set of total expenses as well. So when you do the pluses and minuses together like a balance sheet, you get the net benefit. And what you need to do is figure out how the pricing of this plays out. So price is one factor, quality is one factor, service is one factor, availability and delivery time. All these things are examples of factors that affect the purchase and adoption of a certain product or service that you have in mind, which therefore brings us to the point, how strongly does a single customer contribute to the overall cash flow of the company? What you do is, like we spoke of, you measure the net benefit and you take similar customers. When you're profiling, you create that particular segment and you cluster them, preferably into a tribe, because they will be like-minded. So one communication will appeal because their mindsets are similar, their needs in life are at a particular level. So they will listen to that one message and they will relate to it. And it will be implemented using the technology you have at hand. What happens is you create value to the customer. The customer feels that they have been listened to, and therefore the value that they are getting out of the interaction is higher than the actual money that they are paying. And here at the same point in time, they reward you, that they'll stick with you, make multiple purchases with you, and therefore they will give you points to measure what their purchase patterns have been, how much they are spending, how much time did they take to take the particular purchase decision. And other than that, all of these factors again implemented in IT will give you the particular flow and help you predict when this is all going to happen. So the principle of mutual value creation, on one side you create and give value to the customer, on the other they stay with you and keep creating value for you. So these are the basic needs, and this is therefore necessary to deliver the right value to the customer. Moving on to the next part, which will actually define whether they buy into you as a brand, product or service or not, the price optimization. Now, if you look at the three-dimensional price decision-making framework, you've got three aspects to it. The first part is you've created something, so there is a cost you've incurred, and therefore you want to attain a certain profit out of it. So the cost plus pricing is the most basic level of pricing formats, which is something that your company will really be considering. But then again, what you also have to do is look at what your competition in that particular space is doing. The less competition you have, the more flexibility of this plus increases in your life. But if you are in a red ocean like we spoke of, then you must also consider whether your competition is going to undercut you and your customer is going to get wooed away because they're just finding similar products elsewhere at probably a cheaper and more competitive price. But then again, this can also be managed by creating, like we spoke of, value in the entire interaction. How simple do you make it for them to buy? What kind of extra benefits are there in using your product? Is it the quality, is it the shelf life, is it the usability, is it the detailing with which you can actually produce a particular product for mass use, and how you interact and enthrall your audience so that they continue to believe in your narrative, your brand, your product, and continue to come to your doorstep. So therefore, you have to define these objectives and you have to define them for a certain time period. So you can fix a certain time period of 3 years, 5 years, whatever suits your fancy, and you prepare plans accordingly because products take time from research to come to the actual shelves. And do you know how you are actually incurring costs in the entire process? So therefore, you will want to know what is the cost structure. At the same point in time, which product and service and feature is relevant. So therefore, you need that feedback coming from the customer, and so therefore, that will also help you select the mix, the necessary kind of products, the necessary kind of variants that those products will have, and therefore, the kind of pricing difference between the variants that you will put in. Typically, how cars are priced. You will have a base variant at 7 or 8 lakhs, the top end will be 13, 14 lakhs. So each value add in terms of a product benefit that you are going to add in each particular variant, it leads to a point where a pricing shift happens. That pricing shift should make it worth the while for the particular audience member to think, hey, I'm going to and willing to pay that particular price tag for what I'm going to get. And this helps you address what are the key factors that help you make that pricing decision, and it also aids whoever the decision maker is, because if they are people who are financially minded, then they will be able to take that decision better. If it is somebody in a family run business, how deep is their grounding in finance is also a question which needs to be understood, and therefore their ability to price better. Modern pricing dynamics are affected by VUCA in a huge way. So let's try and probe how the volatility, uncertainty, complexity and ambiguity of VUCA affect pricing at large. When we look at volatility, which says that something is changing rapidly, slowly, I don't know how, that sudden change is going to affect the pricing dynamics. So you need to have faster decisions, and internet marketing typically is a space where you are seeing that robots have come in a big way and they are doing rapid dynamic pricing. Airplane flights, now even trains, they are seeing this particular feature. Even buses nowadays have dynamic pricing. So dynamic pricing is dependent on a lot many factors fed into the algorithm, and it gives you a specific kind of pricing sequence. As you go nearer to the travel date, your pricing tends to shoot up, depending again on the availability. So it's a demand supply game. The next part is revenue management expansion. So across industries with fixed cost, you will see that technology will help you manage the revenues. It will help you allocate resources for necessary things. So hotels, travel, etc. These are areas where that particular management can be pre-planned. You have a lot of software which now comes at a centralized level and gives you a larger dashboard for the organization to look at, and that entire piece can help you create a formulated plan for the organization. Data integration, again, like we spoke of the CRM and the IT systems that we have, if integrated into the touch points and so therefore back into the AI and ML systems back in the ops room, you'll find that better pricing decisions are being arrived at, but obviously you have to ensure that the data is valid and it is very, very clear. There is no ambiguity in it. Ambiguity will come to in the next couple of slides. And yes, like we spoke of, transparency. You need to know how much you're making, when you're making it, and where you're going to spend it. So all of these things are boosted by online tools which help you get better price comparisons and intensify the competition, because you are able to price better than whosoever else is trying to compete with you if you've got the better algorithm. And therefore, next part is the risk part, what you don't know, which gives rise to uncertainty. Now, the challenges in uncertainty are taking strategic decisions, and therefore interpretation at a human level can be my word against anybody else's. So therefore, these are there. Again, external factors come into play like public perception. Therefore, your PR angle, the viewability of your brand, the kind of repute that you carry in the market, all these factors come into play here. And an example of the German railway pricing system, PEP, is there for everybody to notice, that the success of the particular enterprise hinged on customer acceptance of dynamic pricing and accurate information dissemination. People again wanted to have a fixed price for tickets, but they understood that the need to get onto a train is something that propelled them to pay a little bit premium. And as the time for the train came closer, this is where it all stemmed from, and now has been populated all across the world. So this actually was the key starting point for dynamic pricing on travel. So the experiment found that neutral information yielded 45% support, and only 22% people felt that this was not right. But over time, with use and with the benefits that they could derive, like how India adopted the Tatkal system, you saw that views changed. There was resistance at first, because any change will bring resistance, but that resistance went away once they saw the benefits of it and used it continuously to grow. Same ways, like we spoke of the PR part, the negative press coverage, it also depends on how you are driving the narrative of the entire piece of trade or business that you're doing within the tribe. And these values which are shifting, they have to be accepted by the audience, so that you are getting specific relatable price examples, and you're going to tell them that, hey, the price went up because you're booking almost on the day of traveling. So you have to pay a premium for that. That got people thinking. Now, the lesson here is that public perception, again PR and communication, is sensitive to information framing, and when you have it transparent and you are actually talking to specific people who have the need to travel, they are the target audience for this particular thing, and they need to travel, so that travel is essential for them. If they're booking at the last minute, you've communicated it to them, they are all right, and over time it becomes a habit, so therefore they fall into line. Now, pricing is very complex, lots of factors coming into play, not exhaustive, but there are certain things that we are trying to cover here. First and foremost, the realization that there are interdependencies in pricing. So pricing is not straightforward. There are lots of factors, like you've got competitor reactions, you lower your price, your competitor lowers it a little more, and you keep going down the price war game. It's a tailspin. Similarly, when there are B2B buying centers, they have a different way of operating. They will buy in bulk, they will want a certain discount, they will want a certain waiver of carriage, freight, and various factors. So there are considerations of that as well, and it's more left-brained there compared to a B2C discussion where you are able to tap into the consumer's mindset and get a better purchase because of the emotional selling that you're able to do, which works at the individual level. Then you've got cost structure challenges. So short-term pricing may focus on marginal cost, because you have to ensure that your particular margins are better and you are able to get more profit, or the flip of it, where you are trying to get more market share. So, you are actually cutting your margins down and you are giving discounts away so that you get more people into the fold. But medium term pricing is where the actual game really lies, because you have to cover your fixed and variable costs. Whatever you have to pay for your factory, you have to pay for the haulage and carriage, you have to pay. There is a certain amount of goods going out. So, you have to pay those particular costs. There is only a certain time till which you can discount things. After that, you will have to climb it back up. Again, the German coach market is an example. Here, liberalization led to high demand, but also excessive capacity. So, there was a lot of raking up of production capability, and so therefore, the cost was actually leading to an aggressive price, because everybody wanted to offload their stock. So, this was typically something which was threatening industry viability. Don't be too jumpy to get into lowering just the cost, because pricing is one detail which will help you sell. There are lots of other things like your brand presence, like the transparency, like having dibs on exactly who it is that is your customer, and getting information of how they buy, why they buy, when they buy, so that you are able to sell it to them, and especially at a moment when they are disposed towards buying your product. Then the last bit of it is ambiguity. Again, you don't have clarity about certain events at times. So, here price war dynamics again come into play. Competitor cuts price, and these are at times misinterpreted as deliberate attacks, because they think that they can win that short term battle, but you promptly retaliate with a tit for tat. Does it help you? Can you withstand that onslaught from your competition? Is a longer term decision that needs to be made, and if that is so, are there other ways to hedge and keep the profitability alongside the customers that you already have on board? Yes, you may lose some, but can you derive more value from the ones who stay on with you? So, these are considerations that must be taken up by organizations and therefore by managers. And these harmful price wars at times, they impact the entire industry, and that brings all the things that have been carefully put into place to a grinding halt at times, and this can create long term damage. And if you are short sighted and do not see the kind of damage it can create over time, then the short term gains will not be so great that it will outweigh your long term concerns. So, you need to be very, very choosy and careful about these aspects. In fact, in terms of insights, 83 of managers in price wars blame competitors for initiating them, and this is a very easy bump off. So, you can tell, hey, they started it first, we are just countering it. But have you thought through various other factors, whether they can sustain it, what is their liquidity of cash, how much they are deeply invested into the market, what kind of market share do they own, why are they doing it to begin with, do they have an inferior product, can it be countered by a narrative, can you cite that your product is better? So, therefore, there is a perception that is driven, and consumers stay with you because they don't want a product that is inferior and will break down the moment they are trying it, even if it comes for a lesser price. Conviction is important in a sale, and that conviction can be created through a lot of narrative building. There are various ways to counter a price war. Again, whoever is a decision maker, they underestimate the difficulty of reversing price reductions without further harm at times. So, you have to be very wary. All of these examples have told you that there are a lot of factors that you must probe into, look for details, look for the gives that each of these scenarios throw at you. There is a tell that why are they getting into that particular scenario. It will come to your light once you have got all the data in hand. You will be able to understand what actually prompted them to cut their price, and so therefore, you will know exactly where to hurt them more, so that you are able to retain not only your customers but derive better value out of it. Don't jump the gun and just do a price cut alongside. And therefore, the 3D pricing framework is, you have to do three things at the same point in time. See, you have to ensure that you pass the VUCA test. How do you do that? You are going to put yourself in consumers' minds and think how a consumer thinks, that this is the right price to set, where the willingness to pay is exactly exploited, no cent more or less. I am being charged exactly what is the worth of what I'm getting. So there is a question of being fair. This sense of fairness drives people towards you. It also gives them a reason to tell others that, hey, go here, you will get the good products you are seeking, but also at a fair price. So this fairness of price is important here. The second part to it is discounts do not buy loyalty, like we spoke of. You're going to have a short-term gain. You're going to sell once. What you need to look at is the lifetime value of the customers as well. And so therefore, they reduce the loyalty, something which you also need to be cognizant of. And definitely they hurt you where it hurts most. They lower the revenue that is coming in. They therefore lower the margins that you're going to earn out of the entire transaction, and it is actually going to be hurtful. So be very careful of cutting price. And the third part of it is that many customers emphasize on the price issue. They say that it's overpriced, but it often turns out that these people are not necessarily price sensitive. See, it won't hurt anybody to pay a little less for whatever they are taking. If you're buying bread for 50 rupees, you'd like to have it for 45, right? But the point is, will you be all right with substandard bread? That's the question to be asked. And are you willing to communicate that such? So necessarily going down on price may not be the best answer. Maybe you need to up on the communications bit. So both these aspects are things that must be thought through by the marketing manager, because they are the string holders. They are the ones who are managing the entire scenario. So how can you counter price? Not necessarily by cutting the price down, which is a knee-jerk reaction, but actually going towards other solutions which help you retain the customer and increase the value. In the future, what you'll need to do is, you've created your target audience. Within the audience, you'll have to continuously keep looking at niches, micro niches, maybe going down to the level of unitary personas. This will help you create unique segmentation which nobody has done before, to that level where you are having personalized conversations with your members of the audience. And because you have an effective focus on the segmentation, you're going to link the pricing with the CRM. Is this person worth being given a discount? You may give some people a discount, but will they buy more from you? Will they continuously keep buying? Will they bring two more to buy from you as a result, and you won't have to spend marketing money on that? Is that something that is going to happen? So these are questions that you need to think through and then invest a certain fund or a certain piece of marketing capital on them. And today you're in the digital space, so put it out, test it on a small audience, and then run it on the larger one, and you'll be able to expand the benefits that you're going to get out of that testing and get better profits out of it. Also, if you're getting people to buy from you, you should go back and get feedback. And hence surveys become a very, very big tool in this particular exercise to check whether people are willing to pay. So you test that particular scenario out, get it right from the horse's mouth. Hear your customer out. Ask them, are you willing to pay this certain price for what you are being offered? And the experiments, given the capabilities that digital brings to your table, and altering the price presentation and models will help you optimize for the entire scenario. There is no blind faith you should have in the marketing simulation models. Test it out. Earlier, there was only research-based stuff. Today, you can test at a small scale and then expand larger. And these price sensitivity tests are things that give you a scenario which is the worst case. So there you can plan for what is going to come and be prepared. Planning your organization structures around it will help you also take the rapid decisions and implement them if you want to succeed at this. And VUCA conditions are also a chance to see a more active role in pricing, which brings us to internal communications, because all of this is about creating that necessary change. So first, let's appreciate the challenges that are there. There is direct integration of all members in the change process, because everybody has to follow the same line. and therefore whatever hierarchical structures and language barriers hinder the communication, it has to still follow through. If you are talking to somebody in Bulgaria, you have to ensure that they get your meaning. And organizations spread the world across, MNCs typically, or companies which have expanded out of borders, they have to figure it out and measure how they're going to do this. What the solutions you can do? You get more able middle management and give them clear, detailed information so that the messages go right. And you encourage participation from employees to formulate and collaborate in creating the change, increasing the acceptance, and it is collaborative, so everybody is party to that decision. The insight here is the communication cascades require leaders to fully understand and support the change. The leaders have to believe in it, and they have to involve more stakeholders, ensuring that it happens. You have to ensure that if there are any problems, you recognize them early, you define goals and you define themes before your planning begins, and your communication is critical as planning the entire change. Also, when you're planning, your communication should be part of it as a strategy. You analyze the current communication where you stand today, and you create communication goals aligned with your actual organizational objectives. You develop a communication strategy, concept and operational plan therefore, and you must also be ready to move and step aside nimbly. So, flexibility and adaptability are important. What this means is you need to react to real-time feedback and gauge mood and concern across all the levels of the organization. And you should get people on board. The more you are able to get people on board, the more inclusive it is. You will see that there are emotional responses, people being people. So, you will see progress amongst teams, and you will be able to identify who can be the flag bearers of the change. And then you communicate directly and consistently across all hierarchical levels. Finally, what you need to realize is you have to be tenacious. You have to dig your heels in, but also remember to be quick to take decisions, quick to understand and read the scenario, and continuously calibrate and adapt to market forces, because that is the only defense that is left for businesses. And if you are to survive and thrive in this VUCA environment, you will need managers who have that mind and that particular situational awareness, and they have to continuously, creatively identify these things, identify what is critical, and keep solving those things. That is where we end the module today. Thank you for being so attentive. And going further, we'll now start delving deeper and deeper into marketing management, the core of the subject. So, we'll come up with the scope, dynamics, and the role of marketing in the next module. That's all for today. Thank you.
Hello and welcome to this piece of literary snippet. We usually know William Shakespeare as the most revered figure in the history of English literature. But we often tend to forget that he has also been one of the most hated figures in literature. And here I am not talking only about those boys and girls who have to memorize long sections from Macbeth or King Lear or Julius Caesar before they can go and sit for their school or college exams. But I am also talking about people who are themselves quite famous authors. Tolstoy, for instance, considered the writings of Shakespeare to be, and I quote, crude, immoral, vulgar, and senseless. George Bernard Shaw absolutely loathed Shakespeare, as he did Homer. But perhaps no other criticism about Shakespeare is more damaging than the one which says that Shakespeare is a marvelous storyteller. provided someone has told him the story earlier. Now, this piece of criticism is particularly damaging because it is true. None of Shakespeare's plays contain any original story whatsoever. They are all written using pre-existing materials, pre-existing stories. Now, does that diminish the stature of Shakespeare as a dramatist? Well, I'll leave that for you to decide. See you in the next episode of Literary Snippets.